Friends, we are very happy to inform you that e-modules are prepared for B.Ed program at Telangana by the School of Education, Osmania University under Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching Scheme MHRD New Delhi. It's indeed our pleasure to share with the teacher educators and the prospective teachers and get maximum benefit out of it. It's a first of its attempt by us. We continue to add many more such lessons to share with you all.
I am Dr. Elisha Kolluri, Senior Faculty, NSR College of Education, Jambag, Hyderabad. Today we are going to discuss about nature and scope of economics. The nature of economics we can understand through this picture. How can we understand? So, economics as a science, economics as a positive science, economics as a normative science. And one more thing that related to nature of economics, economics as an art. We can understand the concept of nature of economics like this. Economics as a science. How can we understand economics as science? It is science in the sense it is a systematic knowledge derived from scientific study, observation and experiments based on scientific methods. We can understand economics as science like this. Scientific study, observation and experiments based on scientific methods. Different scientific methods are there. We can understand through economics as a science, through observation, through scientific study, we can understand the economics as a science. And for example, economics is a body of knowledge which shows relationship between cause and effect. Economics is a body of generalizations or laws, and like science shows cause and effect relationship. So that through that we can understand. And for example, the law of demand in economics says when price of commodity rises, cause, its quantity demanded falls, this is effect. We can understand this. The law of demand, what it says, when the price of a commodity rises, the demand for a commodity decreases. When price rises, demand decreases. Rising in price is the cause. Due to that cause, the demand is decreases. That is the effect. So, economics as science, we can understand like that. And you see the law of demand. When the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. When the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up. We can see the relationship between these two. The relationship between the price and quantity is inverse relationship. When the price rises, the demand decreases. When the price decreases, the demand increases. So, this is what the law of demand said. So, we can understand economics as science. This is the principle of economics. This is the law of demand related to the price and demand also. And science is a capable of measurement. In economics, measurement is in terms of money. So, we cannot measure the in other forms of things. In those days, barter system is there. The things changed between the one man and another man, one family and another family. Now, not like that. In economics, the major fundamental measurement is money. So, with the help of the money, we can change the money, or we can exchange the different kinds of things in the terms of money. That is why science is a capable of measurement. Next, science has the ability to forecast. like science, the various laws of economics can help in forecasting, demand forecasting, supply forecasting. When will be the demand increases? When will be the supply increases? When will be the demand decreases? When will be the supply decreases? We can forecast based on the conditions of the market, based on the needs of the people, based on the other things of the society. And economics is another one. Economics is both positive and normative science. Economics is a positive science and economics is a normative science. We can also understand the economics like this. If you see the positive economics, it investigates what is. It does not pass value judgments. It is not concerned with welfare propositions. This approach of economics was propounded by Lionel Robbins. So what is positive economics? It investigates what is, but not give value judgments. It is not concerned with the welfare propositions. So whether it is good or bad, it is not tell by the economics. So whatever may be the conditions are there in the market, in the consumers, in the production side, we can understand economics as positive economics. If you see the examples of positive economics deals with what is or what will be statements that can be empirically tested. For example, if the government increases the income tax, it will lead to fall in the level of consumer expenditure. You see, you understand this situation. So whenever the government of India increases the income tax, the consumers will not spend more. Why? Because the most of the income of the people will go to the central government in the form of tax. That is why income will be reduced from the consumer side. That is why fall in the level of consumer expenditure. We can understand the picture also. Income tax and income tax rises. When income tax rises, the level of consumer expenditure will be decreased like that. So this is the one of the example to understand the positive economics. Normative science, it makes a distinction between good and bad. It prescribes what should be done to promote human welfare. So normative science gives the distinction between good and bad. It prescribes what should be done to promote human welfare. What are the things related to economics to produce the welfare of the human? So normative science studies that one only. And normative economics also we can study. Normative is derived from the word norm or standard, which implies what ought to be. It passes value judgments. It is concerned with welfare propositions. So normative economics based on what ought to be, and it gives the value judgment. Normative economics gives value judgments, which is good, which is bad, and it is also concerned with welfare propositions. So this is called normative economics, and it decides standards which should be adhered to in achieving economic objectives. This object was introduced by Alfred Marshall. So this is the normative economics. And for examples for normative economics. Normative economics deals with should or ought statement that cannot be tested empirically. For example, income should be distributed more equal. So whatever income the country have, that entire income distributed among all the people equally. So that is the normative economics. There is no inequality in distribution of income. So that is why this is called normative economics. And we can understand the positive and normative economics like through this picture also. So when prices fall, people often delay their purchases. So if I want to purchase some goods in the market, if that goods prices are increased, I think so whether these goods are necessary for me, whether when I need these goods now, so can I purchase these goods now or not? So like that we think about this normative economics, and can be proved, connects cause and effects, descriptive based on facts, tells you what is objective. So these all information related to positive economics. Whereas if you see the normative economics, ought to, should. So orange is better than green. So which is better? So orange or green? We can give the value judgment. So we can judge whether it is which is good, which is bad, which is useful, which is not useful. We can decide. That is why makes recommendations, not based on facts, tells you should be have been first prescriptive or subjective. So this is the main difference between positive economics and normative economics. For examples for positive economics and normative economics. Example for positive economics deals with the reality of facts. Positive economics deals with the reality of facts. Example, sun rises in the east. This is the fact. Whereas if you see the example of normative economics based on assumptions, we can understand the normative economics based on the assumptions. The rate of growth of population should be controlled. So every year population increased. Population increased day by day. We have to control the population. If population increases, what will happen? So many problems will be happen. So that is why we control the growth of population. So we can understand the positive economics and normative economics through these examples. And one more thing, economics as an art. Economics is an art because an art is a system of rules for the attainment of given end. There are several branches of economics which provide practical guidance in the solution of economic problem. It is a science in its methodology and an art in its application. So there are different branches of economics to give the or to provide the practical guidance to people, that means consumers. So consumers should choose which one they need, which one they do not. So like that they will give the a kind of guidance to the people, and sometimes the guidance will also useful for solutions of economic problems. So this is the economics as an art. So you see this picture, economics policies. So we can understand the different policies of economics. So every year the government of India introduced many policies related to economic growth. So we can understand economics as an art like this. And scope of economics. The entire subject matter of economics divided into two approaches, traditional approach and a modern approach. What is traditional approach? What is modern approach? Let us see. Traditional approach, economics is studied under 5 major divisions, namely consumption, production, exchange, distribution and public finance. So these are related to the traditional approach concepts. What is consumption? Satisfaction of human wants through use of goods and services are consumption. Satisfaction of human wants. How can we satisfy human wants? By using goods and services. That is called consumption. In the picture, so consumers purchases different kinds of goods in the market for satisfying their needs, their wants. And one more thing, production, creation of utility or producing things for satisfying human wants. If consumers are human beings, if they want to satisfy their needs, their wants, they need goods and services. How can goods and services available in the market? The producers or the entrepreneurs to produce goods and services. So in the picture also we can see the a kind of production picture. So produces the human needs through this one. And exchange, the process of buying and selling constitutes exchange. What is exchange? So in those days barter system is there. People are exchanging different kinds of goods and services. So now they are exchanging different kinds of goods and services in terms of money. So money is a medium of exchange. Money is a unit of account. Money is a store of value. So money has this kind of things. So through that the people means buyers and sellers can use money in terms of medium of exchange. We can understand through this picture also. And distribution, the process of determining rent, wage, interest and profit is called distribution. So production needs factors of production. What are the factors of production? Land, labor and entrepreneurs, capitals. These are the factors of production. How can distribute different kinds of things to using factors of production? We can pay rent for using land. We can give wages to labor. We can pay interest to capital. Finally, the entrepreneur or the producers will get the profit. So this is called distribution. And one more thing under traditional approach, public finance. Study of public revenue and public expenditure is called public finance. We can observe the government of India will present every year the budget. So in the budget, the government will show the different heads like public revenue and public expenditure. What are the ways of means of public revenue? How can we spend the money on different things? Through that we can understand. In the picture also we can see different budget. In the budget allocation, the government should provide or should spend some amount of money for the welfare of people, for improving the military aspect and etc. etc. So we can understand this public finance through this picture also. Public revenue and public expenditure. Public revenue will come from revenue receipt, capital receipts. How can we get revenue receipt and capital receipt? Through tax and non-tax. So tax are direct tax and indirect tax. Through that we get the public revenue. Whereas if you see the public expenditure, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure. Revenue expenditure is every year the government should spend some amount of money on certain things. That is called revenue expenditure. So the government should spend certain amount of money on fixed assets. That is called capital expenditure. So we can understand the public finance through this picture. And wants leads to efforts. Efforts leads to production. Production leads to distribution and exchange. And this again leads to consumption. Again consumption leads to wants and efforts, production, distribution, exchange, consumption. So it is a cycle. So our wants will be satisfied through a kind of cycle. So production also like that. In the traditional approach, we can understand the different kinds of aspects what we studied earlier. We can achieve all these things through that. And modern approach. So modern approach is classified into two things. So there are majorly this is also called as types of economics, classified into two categories, microeconomics and macroeconomics. So these two concepts, microeconomics and macroeconomics concepts, introduced by Swedish economist Ragnar Frisch in 1933. And the term microeconomics is derived from Greek word micros, meaning small. Microeconomics studies the behavior of individual economic units. Microeconomics also studies particular firms. It studies particular households. It studies individual prices, wages, incomes, industries. That is why it is also known as the price theory. So all individual units will be studied by the microeconomics. So that is why it is called price theory. So we can understand the microeconomics concept through this flowchart also. Study of individual economic variables. What are the individual economic variables? Individual consumer, input price, individual producer, individual firm, individual industry, commodity price. These are all individual economic variables. The microeconomics studies about all these individual economic variables. And if you see this picture, microeconomics, so farm, household, individuals. A farm is a business, especially one with multiple owners and employees. So microeconomic studies individual farms, individual households, individuals, and individual business, etc. Microeconomics theory also studies the following. So microeconomics theory classified into three categories. They are commodity price, factor pricing theory, theory of economic welfare. Commodity pricing again classified into two categories, demand theory, supply theory. So we can understand demand theory, supply theory under the commodity pricing theory. Whereas if you see the factor pricing theory, so here we study the theory of distribution. What is the theory of distribution? By using the practice of production, we should pay rent, wages, interest and profit. And regarding theory of economic welfare, so we can study the what to produce, how to produce, when to produce, for whom it is to be produced. So we can understand theory of economic welfare through this. So whenever there is a economic problem, there is a scarcity of economic problem, we can think about what to produce, how to produce, when to produce, from whom it is to be produced. This is called microeconomics theory. Under microeconomics theory, we studied all these things. The term macroeconomics, next one macroeconomics. The term macroeconomics is derived from Greek word macros, meaning large, big. So macroeconomics studies large things, huge things, big things, not small things like microeconomics. Macroeconomics studies economy as a whole. Economy as a whole. Microeconomics studies individual units only. Bit by bit studied by the microeconomics. Whereas macroeconomics is study economics as a whole. Macroeconomics also studies aggregates like national income, total consumption, total savings, total employment. So these are all big concepts, huge concepts. That is why macros means large. Large means the macroeconomics studies the aggregates of all these things like consumption, savings, employment. That is why macroeconomics is also called as income and employment theory. We can study the macroeconomics through this picture also. So study of the economy as a whole. So macro means the big picture. That means it studies about national output and inflation, unemployment, national income, and also includes national, regional, global economics. So macroeconomics studies all these things. So we can understand macroeconomics through this picture like this also. And a macroeconomic theory. So macroeconomic theory also classified into the following. So first one is theory of income and employment. Theory of general price level and inflation. Next one, the theory of economic growth. Macro theory of distribution. That means relative shares of wages and profits. So these are the macroeconomic theories. The theory of income and employment also classified into two categories. Theory of consumption function, theory of investment. Theory of consumption function also studies theory of fluctuations, that is called business cycles and international trade. So we can understand the macroeconomics theory based on these following theories. We can understand the microeconomics and macroeconomics with the help of these pictures. So microeconomic behavior and this is the macroeconomic behavior. So individual, households, production form. So microeconomic studies individual, microeconomic studies household, microeconomic studies production forms. So income expenditure, income receipt of expenditure also. These microeconomics behavior leads to some expenditure also. So we need some receipts, we need receipt of income, we need receipt of expenditure. And we can also understand the macroeconomics behavior, GDP, GNP, gross domestic product, gross national product. Why? Because the macroeconomic studies the entire economy as a whole. The macroeconomic studies about the country's economics. So that is the major difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. And if you see the differences between microeconomics and macroeconomics, the first difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics is microeconomics studies individual income, whereas macroeconomics studies national income. Microeconomics analyzes demand and supply of labor. Macroeconomics analyzes total employment in the economy. Microeconomics deals with households and farm decisions. Macroeconomics deals with aggregate decisions. Microeconomics studies individual prices, whereas macroeconomics studies overall price level. And lastly, microeconomics analyzes demand and supply of goods. Macroeconomics analyzes aggregate demand and aggregate supply. And finally, we conclude the lesson by summarizing the lesson. So in this lesson, we learn about nature of economics, scope of economics, traditional approach and modern approach.